the Notting Hill Carnival, do you understand its origins and do you understand its importance to Londoners? Because very sadly, because of the criticism that Adele has had over cultural appropriation, it's actually totally overshadowed her message, which was actually about celebrating this great festival, which is all about inclusion. The festival actually has West Indian and hippie origins, and for me, it's all about Londoners of all different cultures coming together to celebrate as one. And her positive message has now been overshadowed because of the criticism folk like you have made.
Well, let's be very clear. She could have done all of the celebration without wearing the Bantu knots. No one's mad that she wore the flag because flags is fine. But she did not have to wear the Bantu knots. The same way going to Halloween and showing appreciation for Obama doesn't make you have to wear blackface. You can celebrate cultures without having to don, the type of heritage.
So Bantu knots, a white woman wearing Bantu knots is the same as a white man blackfacing, in your opinion?
I believe it's in the same category, yes.
Okay. Dominique Samuels, your response.
Well, I think this is just completely ridiculous. I think I'd understand where he was coming from if Adele had popped up on Instagram and said, hey guys, look at my new hairstyle that I created. She clearly paid homage to black culture and Notting Hill Carnival. And you can't talk about wanting to eradicate racism and all this other stuff and then designate certain clothing choices and hairstyle choices to certain races of people. That literally doesn't make any sense and is in itself racism. And I don't think a lot of Americans actually understand Adele's background or where she comes from. She's from Tottenham in London, which is a very multicultural place. And many black people here actually celebrate Adele's love for Afro-Caribbean culture and actually find it pretty endearing. The only people that seem to have a problem with it is African Americans who have this hyper-racialized view of anything. If Adele wants to wear a hairstyle, Adele can wear a hairstyle. She was clearly paying homage to black culture. She didn't walk up and pretend that she created the hairstyle. She was simply celebrating a festival. Who are you to decide who can and cannot wear a hairstyle? She wasn't doing anything out of malice. And if in your opinion that is some negative impact on black women in America, that's clearly a problem that you have with yourself.
So Ernest,
it's just a really miserable view of the world.
Ernest,
I don't understand it.
Ernest, that's Dominique Samuels. She is a black British woman saying, who are you to say that Adele can't wear this hairdo?
And we can agree to disagree respectfully without calling people miserable. I think at the end of the day, I would tell Ms. Dominique, if you was to choose to wear Bantu knots to your job interview, would you get the same type of validation that Adele did? And I also think it says something that we as black people, whether we are from different diasporas, we are all family. And so I think for you to try to pit experiences of those against, anti-blackness anywhere is anti-blackness everywhere, sister. And I would just say that, we cannot just wear anyone's cultures. I think it's disrespectful. Native Americans, you shouldn't be wearing Native American tribal attire. You shouldn't be wearing garbs in people's Muslim.
But this is Adele's hair, Ernest. This is Adele's hair, right? Just to clarify, this is her hair. It's a style.
Right. Yes, but it's the style and it's customs, and we have to respect people's cultures. And I think it's interesting that the only time we don't respect people's cultures is when it tends to black culture. But we wouldn't be saying the same thing if somebody was dressed up as the Queen of England and mocked the order of the crown and decided to do their own coronation and ceremony. The Brits would be angry.
Ernest, are there other hair?
Everyone can't just wear everything.
Ernest,
come on now.
Ernest, can I just ask a question? Are there other hairstyles that white people should avoid? Because there are obviously some white people that have naturally curly hair. What about the afro, for example, which is also connected to black culture?
Yeah, but that's, again, like I said before.
I'm just asking the question. I don't know the answer. I'm just asking the question.
I'm saying to you that let's not be facetious here. What I'm saying is that...
No, I'm not being facetious. I'm asking you a genuine question. Well, I don't know.
I'm getting my point. There are specific styles that have been created by the culture. Okay, the afro was not created by black people, but it's something that they have done. But Bantu knots have a history. And if you don't know the history of Bantu knots, I would suggest you Google it and do research. There are certain cultural customs that were created by our culture. Black people have a culture. And I think it's interesting that we act as though that it's free for grabs. Anyone can do what they want and wear it like it's a costume or wear it when they want to celebrate something. And I think that there has got to be a fine line there.
Well, there is a fine line. And Dominique, I guess it's that fine line that I worry about, because what happens, Dominique, to, for example, wearing geisha dresses going forward from the Japanese tradition, or when we're told to wear traditional Indian dress to attend an Indian wedding? My fear, Dominique, is that now white people are going to be so scared to go near any cultural dress or traditions of any form because they are worried about being accused of cultural appropriation.
Well, I don't even really think it's just about white people. I mean, a lot of African Americans have adopted geisha attire and you could say appropriated Asian culture. I think you mentioned Beyonce before. She made a whole movie about Africa that wasn't even available in Africa. I mean, was that appropriating West African culture? I don't think anyone has any particular ownership over cultural customs, because we all appropriate or appreciate other cultural customs when we see fit. At the end of the day, Adele didn't pop up on Instagram and act like she created the hairstyle. She was paying homage to Afro-Caribbean culture that is open for everybody to celebrate. If we designate certain cultures and customs to certain races of people, that is basically the opposite of integration, tolerance, and multiculturalism. That's you basically saying only certain races of people can access certain things. So in that same breath, all of the black girls that go around wearing bone straight blonde weaves should take that out, because we should hold everyone to the same standard. You can't pick and choose when people can adopt different things. I just don't think it makes sense.
Ernest, are there any double standards going on here?
I think that's the most ignorant thing I've heard today. Let's be very clear. We live in a society where black women and black people are hated for being who they are and how they dress. Do you know what the word assimilation is? There's a reason why most women are told to, because like I said before, we have to talk about this on a global, international scale and talk about it through different cultures. There is a culture of Africans that are bleaching their skins because they are being disposed and despised for their dark skin. They're straightening their hair because we live in a world where black people with kinky hair are despised and not called beautiful. So how dare you sit up here and try to compare the fact that black women who live in a society where they're ridiculed for their natural hairstyles are wearing blonde wigs as cultural appropriation, because white people do not own straight hair, but they have dictated it to make people like us have to assimilate in a society where we're still treated less than.
Well, Dominique Samuels is a black woman.
Are you saying that black girls feel forced to wear bone straight blonde weave because of racism? That's ridiculous. What are you talking about?
You are so ignorant, because here's the issue.
You're ignorant. You are saying that only white people...
You don't know anything about assimilation. Do you know anything about assimilation in society? Do you know?
I do know what assimilation means, but black girls do not go around with blonde, bone straight weaves because they want to assimilate. They do it because of fashion choices. It's a fashion choice. That's what it is. Not everything has to be hyper-racialized.
I mean, Ernest, aren't you taking away a woman's right to choose their own fashion?
Do you think a black woman will get a job in the United States or in London with a straight hairstyle or Bantu knots if they show up to the job? What is the likelihood? Would they most likely get the job with straight hair or with Bantu knots? Answer the question.
I would agree.
The answer. We all know the answer on this phone.
I'm just about to answer your question if you'd let me answer it. I do agree that if a black woman showed up to a job interview, she would be most likely to be taken seriously if she was wearing bone straight hair, because in Western society that is seen as more acceptable. But what I'm saying to you is, in the context of Adele, that is not what she was doing. She didn't suddenly act like she created the hairstyle. She was paying homage to black culture and celebrating an Afro-Caribbean festival in London. She's from London. She's not American.